Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
What is one of the worst addiction to have? Gambling. If you give a drug addict $100, it will keep them happy for an afternoon. Give it to a gambling addict and it will last 5 minutes. Or they could turn it into thousands, you pessimist. I spent years in NA. We used to laugh at this one guy who was in the program for gambling until he told his story. It was a very dark, selfish story. All us drug addicts listened with our mouths wide open. I bet it's really sad. Gambling addiction has one of the highest rates of suicide for a reason. And yet you watch sports and are constantly bombarded with, bet now. Bet, gamble everything. Quote, I bet you $50 I can name a worse addiction. Food. You can't avoid it. You can't ignore it. You can't quit cold turkey. You will forever be dependent on the source of your addiction and you will need to manage your relationship to it for the rest of your life. Man, I never thought I'd see that comment here, and it's actually top 2. People that don't have that problem really do not understand. I can try and skip a meal. I cannot take a donut if you offer. But once I have a bite, I'll need to eat 10 more until I hate myself. People really don't get the pervasiveness and prison of food addiction, which is why I will never scoff at someone for choosing a method like gastric surgery or Ozempic to help them reach a semblance of control and balance. Benzodiazepines like Xanax or Valium. I can tell you personally that getting off them is pure hell. They're really no joke. I was given essentially an unlimited Xanax prescription at 18 years old. The doctor eventually got in trouble and I started buying from the streets. I'm 26 now and finally got help by going to rehab a few months ago. 115 days clean today. I've always treated them like opioids. Use when absolutely needed, but as little as possible. Edit, that is to say, I am extremely careful with both. I am aware that benzo withdrawals can be deadly, and for some who are more addiction-prone, abstinence altogether is best. 1 million this. I am prescribed just 0.5 milligrams for anxiety, panic disorder, and I never ever take it unless my world is completely ending. I haven't taken it in probably 2 years, and I do keep it nearby. I treat it like a weapon. I never want to use it and probably won't have to, but if shit hits the fan, there it is. There was the Redditor who thought they could try heroin once and not be addicted, but found out he had to keep chasing the dragon. So, I'm saying opioids because it's an instant addition, even to those who don't typically get addicted to things. That was, Spontaneous H, and their Reddit history is one hell of a ride. Holy shit, that was 15 years ago. I remember reading this as it was happening. I'm fucking old. Alcoholism. I'm almost 10 months sober. What a ride. Edit, I've got to get to work everyone, but I'll comment back and respond as much as I can. Y'all are awesome. Edit 2, I am officially off the clock and am so happy with the results of this post and the comments that have appeared. You guys have made my day. I thank you all, and if you ever want to talk or need some help, hit me up. There's a quote from Steve-O that I'll likely butcher, but it's basically saying alcoholism is the worst addiction because you can be functional while your entire life slowly slips away. It's so available and mainstream that no one bats an eye at you using, and slowly you destroy your body and your life. Most other drugs push you to an extreme fairly quickly, but with alcohol it's like boiling a frog. You don't realize the water is hot until it's too late. It's not an easy journey. I watched my grandfather and dad fight it, and yet here I am fighting it myself. I'm proud of your 10 months. Deleted. The one that you have got. Each one most difficult to themselves. I've done tons of drugs, and drank. Not one singular thing has been as addicting to me as World of Warcraft. I spend a night doing hard drugs like cocaine, and then won't touch it again for a few years, same with other drugs, hell, even cigarettes. Not one singular thing has scratched that itch, not one thing makes me want to go back, and gives me this feeling of missing out. Wait, you never got addicted to nicotine? Took me like 30 years to kick a mild habit. I'd say food because it's the only addiction that you simply can't quit. And every holiday, celebration is centered around food. Edit, sorry, haven't been able to reply to any of you. Was at work. At first, there were many bad takes, but I'm happy to see so many people with common sense restoring my faith in humanity. I'd like to thank all those of you who shared their experience. If you are struggling, you are not alone. Stay strong, find people to help you. Tackling this on your own won't do, you know this, you've already tried 45 times. Sending you all love and hugs. I never realized how much I was addicted to food until I started taking Zepbound, and it completely rewired my brain. I stopped thinking about food almost entirely, and it was crazy how much mental bandwidth I had for everything else in my life. Food addiction has a cure now, and it's a shame how few insurance companies cover it, especially given all the costs they incur due to obesity. It's not cheating, either. Obesity is complex with a cocktail of causes surrounding it. It's not a moral failure. I've been a weight yo-yo my entire life. The amount of effort it took me to be thin is overwhelming. You're constantly thinking about food. There's a constant gnawing pit in your stomach even when you're eating the right amount of calories to maintain your weight, religiously weighing and measuring every portion. You dream about food. GLP-1 medications make me feel like what I'd imagine naturally thin people feel like, and that's why I think so many of them just have no frame of reference for understanding how difficult it is for those who are not. It's really eye-opening. I scrolled through a bunch of answers and didn't see anyone mention this, hoarding. My dad has a serious hoarding addiction, and the intense anger he flares anytime he catches someone else in the family throwing something away that belongs to them that he doesn't think should be thrown away has wreaked havoc on my mental health. And seeing hoarded stashes every day around the house played a part in destroying my mom's mental health as well. She's basically devolved into being a severe conspiracy theory nut job for the past several years, and I think it was partially caused by my dad's hoarding. In addition to worsening our family's mental health, his hoarding addiction has also cost us tens of thousands of dollars because for several years now we've been living in a house that we basically can't afford, but we can't downsize because we need this current sized house to fit all of his hoarded stuff. Too many people consider it an issue in laziness when it's definitely a mental health issue. I thought nicotine would be one of the top answers. Took me years of lying to my family to finally quit cigarettes. I agree. Alcohol, opioids, cocaine, benzodiazepines, I've been addicted to all of them, and while it can be tough to quit, the worst is over in a couple of days. Nicotine takes years. Porn is underestimated. Heavy porn addicts sometimes need 2 years to beat the addiction. Edit, I meant that from the moment of quitting that withdrawals can last 2 years. Hey, beat. Here we go again. It's one of the hardest addictions to quit because it's completely free, easy to get, and there is so much of it, so you have to develop your self-control to quit. Not to mention it's tied to a powerful natural biological urge, our sexuality. Porn hijacks this part of us and slowly warps and changes our tastes and arousal template. Very insidious addiction. Similar to food or alcohol addiction, it would be very hard to stop using a smartphone in our current society. So these things are all pretty much available constantly. Quitting benzos was hell on earth, but after a while I was just never around them anymore. Can't say the same for these 3. I was addicted to soap once. But I'm clean now. Soap. Drum drum snake. Heavy opioids. Literally hijacking your reward system in the rawest way. Absolutely. My oxy addiction nearly killed me. Got 12 years now, but oh my god, those first few years were rough. The hypersensitive pain receptors is fun, isn't it? I had like 10 x-rays on my toes because I honestly couldn't tell if I had broken it or just bumped it. Alcohol, it's legal, readily available, inexpensive and very insidious. It's also the most effective in treating anxiety symptoms. I often wonder how many alcoholics are just treating their anxiety because you can't get a script for anti-anxiety medication anymore. I agree. Other addictions can absolutely wreck someone's life, but you can remove yourself and get clean. But alcohol is always there. Every store, restaurant, social gathering. It's a battle of willpower for the rest of your life. Food addiction because you can't do without eating. Smartphones. It's normalized to an extent that a screen time of 2 hours is considered low. Mine's 8 hours per day, though loudly crying. I was looking for this. Most people aren't aware that so many of us have this addiction. Everyone is addicted to their phones, no one wants to admit it though. But it is the worst addiction out there, IMO. Devolution is happening before our eyes and everyone is like, yay, this is COO. I had an addiction to porn since I started watch at the age of 14, it has eased as I've gotten older. I now enjoy porn but doesn't consume my life. Username checks out. Opioids were my personal vice, and they were pretty fucking terrible. Eventually you hit a point where you wake up every morning with what would appear to be a sinus infection from hell, sneezing like a motherfucker, nauseated as fuck, shitting like a madman, and in that condition, you have to not only hustle up enough money for a bag, but you gotta wait on the fucking dope man who is always around the corner, but that particular corner may be 45 minutes away. If you make it through the ordeal without shitting your pants in the car, maybe it's as good as the shit he sold you yesterday, but even if it is, it's only going to get you in good enough shape to figure out how to lie, cheat, or steal your way to enough cash to maybe actually get a little high for a few hours. However, the longer you've been living the junkie life, the more bridges you've burned and more pawn shops and scrapyards won't buy whatever you're selling, and your family is smart enough to lock up anything of value. I waited tables and bartended and found it was the most effective way to fund the habit. I worked doubles pretty much every day, so I would get a bag fronted to me before the lunch shift, go on break, pay the dope man for the morning hit, plus whatever I could afford after, go back and close out dinner, stop by the dope man's place on the way home and buy whatever I could afford after a pack of smokes and just enough gas to get me back to the same spot the next day. Also should add, once again, this is to rarely be actually high, usually just keeping enough heroin in you to go do it all over the next day. That sounds like hell on earth. Nah, hell on earth was Easter, Thanksgiving and Christmas. The 3 days a year that fucking restaurant was closed and the dope man had family obligations. You always know it's coming. You swear you're gonna save enough to get you through. Then you end up banging a gram of dope Christmas Eve and wake up sick as shit by 2 p.m. and broke as fuck Christmas Day. Social media, unlike other addictions, it's only now starting to be seen how damaging it is and does not have the effective treatments. That's not just turn it off.